Queer joy is unapologetic, authentic. Queer joy is hard fought for, inclusive, and unfortunately resilient. My name is Emmett. I'm 42 years old, and I'm based in Houston, Texas. I was adopted into a white, upper middle class family from the Midwest. So my dad worked for General Motors his entire career, which is really weird when you think about it now, to be someplace for 30 years or 35. And my mom was a homemaker for the most part of her life. So, there was always open dialogue about it. My mom tried to remind me that the world that I saw was not the world. And I think understood to maybe a certain degree that I was feeling really out of place. But overall, my mom did the best she could, I think, to let me know that who I was a more expansive person than sometimes what I felt like in growing up. Being adopted, transracially, that's a challenging situation, as is. And then being trans is a little bit of a challenging situation right now because of the sort of environment and bias right now against our community. It's felt really isolating for a long time. I really didn't know what it meant to be Korean, and I'm not sure if I still do at this point. Getting called a banana or Twinkie, being white on the inside and yellow on the outside, and just having that reminder that you're kind of an outsider in two ways. It can really, I think, get into people's psyche. I feel lucky because I definitely went through that, but I've really come out on the other side. I feel like there is a lot of perspective that I'm able to really have in a unique sort of situation, especially with my work, of feeling, deeply, passionately connected, while also still feeling like I'm a little bit on the periphery all the time. Right now, when I look at what's happening across the country, with targeted attacks on trans folks, I look at just the lack of infrastructure that we have, and so it doesn't baffle me, right, why things are getting harder and harder. And I'm really grateful to have sort of been a part of building the infrastructure that exists in Texas now. So I started volunteering where I lived in San Antonio at the time, and then got more active as things started ramping up, and was in the 2017 Texas legislative session, was asked if I would consider taking over Transgender Education Network of Texas, or TENT, as the executive director. It was really kind of a situational, we need somebody that has kind of specific skills that can really build power for trans folks in the state of Texas, which was a enormous ask. Still, I think, is an enormous ask. And I think just through the sort of intensity of the volunteering and leadership that I was really trying to lend, because at that point, and still, right, trans organizations get 4 cents to every $100 that comes into LGBTQ fundraising. At the time, I could dive into it. It's $16,000 in the bank. What a fool's errand. And I spent the first few or a couple of years really on my own time, on my own dime. But it just needed to be done. That was really my first foray into the work I do now, but I really attribute it deeper than that to my mom, who was really fastidious about making sure that even as kids, we went and volunteered. Even as kids, we understood that we had a duty to help our neighbors. We had a duty to try to make the world that we existed in a better place currently and a better place for those who will inherit it. I really try to encourage my staff to show up in fullness as all they are. I think for a long time, it's a lesson that like I'm still learning, because you really can't, I think, receive the world in fullness if you're not ready, willing, and open, right, for that. And I try to remind them that there's so many factors, right, that make each of them unique and just powerful individuals. I think too many times, like, we get sort of siloed into a race and a gender, or a race and like sexual orientation within the queer community. And I think, we're so much more than that. And it's important, I think, especially because queerness, transness is under such attack right now, that you really have to like understand who you are as a full person to be able to root yourself in and continue to push forward. I think a lot of my leadership is learning from mistakes I made and trying to encourage younger folks or people in community to not replicate it. The person who's always just really been my anchor and seen me is my kid, Alex. I've been really grateful for my kid's encouragement of, I think, really going deeper into understanding who I am. When I came out to them, they were like, oh, this is so much easier because it makes so much more sense. This is who you are. And it was kind of like, I've known this, and well, it's about time you like got on board. Just that instantaneous recognition, and it's just this childlike wisdom of like, yeah, I've always seen you, but I was waiting for you to see you. And that's always been a steadfast just force of, I think, foundational just love and full acceptance that I don't think I ever experienced. My family is pretty much my anchor. I'm really lucky to have a wife that supports me and really understands in a unique way, because she does the same work and understands what that means then to really show up for me on a personal end. And our kid Alex is pretty much the best kid. I can't say that anymore because we're getting ready to have another kid. And so if I keep on saying Alex is the best kid, I'm gonna like start some kind of like weird sibling like rivalry. But I've been really, really fortunate and blessed to have the little family I do, but also I'm very lucky to have a lot of friends. Those folks too really keep me grounded. And I feel lucky, that when I think like, oh, things are hard, I know multiple people I can reach out to and lean into for support. And that's really been, a journey, because in order to get that support, you have to be vulnerable and open yourself up for it, admit that things are hard. And I just feel really lucky that I have the family that I hoped I could be a part of when I was a kid. It's not to say we're perfect. I am a number one dad all the time. But, my hope, and I think we have achieved, really building a family together that is able to have hard conversations, is able to wholly show up and, be the place where you can just kind of like exhale and feel just that sense of home, and security and safety, and trust. So I just feel really lucky, you know? When awful shit's happening, no matter how much you don't want to be in front, it's important to have fortitude, to name it, to not be afraid of standing face to face and calling cruelty cruelty. When I think of the words that I used around describing queer joy, I really feel like at the end of it really comes down to this fortitude of you come back no matter what, because it's in your bones. It's who you are, and you're proud of it. So you're not gonna like sit there and keep on getting pushed down and not say anything about it, and see people in your community, people who have worse circumstances than you. And I think it's joy that brings out all of that sort of tenacity and fight, for a better tomorrow. At the end of the day, right, that I hope people find the courage in their convictions, to step forward in whatever way that looks like for them. But I think that's what it takes, is to dig a little bit deeper inside of yourself and sort of close one eye to the fear, and weigh it with the need that's the necessity right now. I do my work because I believe that humanity is mostly good. I believe when we come into this earth, we don't come in hating somebody or having bias and having hatred. I really believe that what we see right now is the product of environment, of culture, of misinformation, of propaganda, of people that are cruel at their heart, pushing agendas. I believe that education, that meeting people where they're at, that going and being willing to go on a journey with them in a way that doesn't feel unnatural or doesn't feel forced is really the key to like all of us collectively moving forward. I don't think I could do this work if I didn't, for them, you know, there's definitely times where I'm like, but really just with the deep recognition that I really believe that we're good at heart. People are decent, and they're worth showing compassion, they're worth showing patience, they're worth going a little bit harder to give grace, even in the face of, I think, just ignorance and being put in a position where we have to feel like we're against our neighbors. I just don't believe that's really how we're wired.